Actually asked me to play this since I'm a pretty big Souls fan, and this was one of the earlier Souls-like knockoffs that people were trying to develop. When they released it on the PlayStation 4, they actually dropped an additional class, which is this big, bulky warrior here. I kind of forget the name. It seems like I was in the middle of a playthrough when I left off, so I guess we'll drop in and blindly pick up from there. I'll probably die pretty quickly since it's been quite a while. For those of you not in the know, the premise of the game is... Oh, yeah, I have no idea where we are now. The premise was that these people were born inside of this giant necropolis. Self-explanatory, right? And every time you die, you actually regenerate as like the next born of your clan or whatever you want to choose, which is really just determined on the color of your armor here. And the idea is to escape from it. And I have escaped before. It's kind of difficult, and you got to get pretty deep in, and never managed to do it on the, oh, I forgot how to attack. Well, that's all good and jolly. That's roll. That's just like Dark Souls. R1? Yeah. Never managed to make it out on the, smaller class. Only on the bulkier class here, since, they got a little more HP to work with. I think they've also got a little higher defense. Oh, jeez, I don't know why I thought just immediately dropping in was going to be such a great idea. Oh! Keep doing that. Keep eating. Waste all my food early. The stamina bar, which you see in blue down there at the bottom there, it actually drains, like, permanently. You noticed earlier before I was eating the food that it capped out and there was a bit of it that was obscured, like when you're hollowed in Dark Souls. Oh no. Whew. I think that roll counted. Every time you use one of the like charge or slam attacks like that, that's what eventually depletes it, as you can see down there. And you do have to eat to recharge it. In my experience, it's not usually too worth it to honestly go ahead and use those kinds of attacks. But a couple of the weapons have decent ones, like this one's got the big ice bursts everywhere. Money's kind of not a big deal. There's a shopkeeper. He doesn't usually have anything too good on him, though. You know, there's a couple recipes and that kind of thing, but you don't really usually get the full benefit out of it. There's a crafting system. I get around to that at some point here because I'm gonna need more food. Really wish I hadn't continued. I don't know what I was thinking. You'll have to forgive me on that one. Oh, walked right into that. Again, don't know why I thought just dropping it was gonna be a great idea. I really should have done a refresher course here. Not really doing a good job showcasing. Take a beating, old man. Jeez. I don't know. Those things explode if they get up to you and you don't take them out. Usually you just roll out of the way, you know. It's not really a big deal. These little guys typically just drop crafting items. Every once in a while they drop some rare weapons or shields. You can see the ground's just littered with the stuff, though. There's no durability or anything like that, thankfully. Those are okay. Oh, that's, actually, you can... There we go. You can actually see like what tier it is, and that's really the only thing that matters at the end of the day, is how high of a tier of it is and how comfortable you are with the weapon type. Like all the swords basically have the same moveset, with the exception of like some of the charge attacks and that kind of thing. Most of the shields are pretty samey too. A couple of the bucklers are really nice. They're a little better at deflecting some of the lasers from the eyeball enemies we might encounter if I actually get deep enough without dying. There's magic scrolls. Obviously forgot about that. Forgot most everything about this game. Real reason we pick up money. Pass through these doors to the elevators. And then, the other thing you do with the money is you typically come up to this shrine here and you pray to it for a blessing. Only 500 gems, so I mean, that's not too bad. We'll go ahead and do that. And that will actually increase your HP bar a little bit. I think it increases your defense, but I'm not 100 on that. I've never really looked up a lot of deeper mechanical details about the game, to be perfectly honest with you. And more scrolls. Okay, high level magic. This is a little shopkeeper I was telling you about. Let's see what he's got. Let's see. I mean, this is nothing that great. There's the colors. You can spend your tome points, I guess is what you'd call them. These really aren't that important in my opinion. I don't find it too terribly enjoyable to experience all the lovely colors throughout the game. A lot of them are kind of samey. There's the tome stand here where you can look at the tomes you purchased with the points as well. Some of them are better than others. One of my favorite ones earlier on was... where is it? That one. Where you heal yourself. And the recipe ones are also fantastic, since it lets you just start off with all the recipes that you would want. So here's the crafting menu. You can see I don't have a lot of recipes on this particular build since I'm not using that tome. I'm not sure which book we're carrying, to be perfectly honest. I probably should have double checked. There's obviously potions to enhance your stats, make things a little easier. And as I said, it is pretty difficult, especially once you get deep down into some of the different environments that aren't just like the actual Necropolis itself. Surprisingly, they even throw in a single boss at the very end of it. It's a bit intimidating since he's like 5 times your size, I believe, and he's all big stompy with the fire trails and all that kind of stuff. Let's see if we head up here, we can collect a couple more gems, and the weird Lord of the Necropolis will talk to us too. Wow. That was really dumb of me. I keep pressing the box button. Thankfully, it was just one of the scrolls. They're really not that amazing. It can be hard to utilize them sometimes. The paralysis is usually awesome, but never lasts long enough for it to typically be worthwhile, in my opinion. For the most part, it was designed in mind of being like as difficult as Dark Souls, where it's the trial and error system. There we go. There's the Eye of the Necropolis. He usually taunts you throughout the, I guess, depths of the level as you keep progressing. Sometimes he gives you some, I guess I'd really call it arbitrary lore, since most of it doesn't really make sense. A lot of it's just silly banter, that kind of stuff. They try to make it feel like a very interesting world, and indeed I think it would be, but they never really expand upon it in any meaningful way. Just collect all these gems. That we're really gonna spend most of them. But, you know, those blessings get increasingly more expensive. I think it goes up 500, 1,000, you know, 1,500, intervals of 500 for each tier of it that you purchase. Yeah, it was designed originally, as I was saying earlier before I completely lost my train of thought. They wanted to do a roguelike Dark Souls, where the enemies would be randomly generated, the layout of the dungeons would be randomly generated, and one of the big things they were boasting about, which you very, very seldom ever see, is some of the enemies were supposed to be predetermined to not like each other. Like, they would have territorial disputes and that kind of thing. Certain enemies would have natural predators, and you could use that to your advantage. Unfortunately, you so very rarely ever see that. And see, you can blow your tokens on these chests that you find. Really? How did you get down here? There usually aren't enemies in the little opening for the next level of depth. Oh, not worth it. Not unless you typically lure them in here. Some of the later depths, as soon as you open the beginning door for the depth, you usually get swarmed, especially around, I think, level 5. There's usually these large insectoid enemies that will start flooding through the door, and you end up kiting them around here, riding the elevator up, coming down, and... Oh, I think there's a... Yes! Sometimes you can find the weapon upgrade guy down in here. They'll say armor, which is usually really hard to pick up. They usually sell you some better swords or shields. Typically, he's also got these potions, which are phenomenal. The potions of vigor, I think, fully restore stamina and HP. So it's a really good alternative to food. Every once in a while, he's got the recipes for like bombs and stuff. Bombs can be very helpful. See, now we've entered out into a snow level. The environments are really interesting, you know, the first time you ever come up to them, but as you keep playing, you kind of recognize a lot of the environments, and they do typically have a couple of similar layouts every time they design the map. Oh, I hadn't seen an old man doing that combo. As you can tell, it's a little clunky. Kind of like in Dark Souls, or now been playing God Eater. You get stuck in the middle of your combo and you're just kind of swinging at nothing. Now the points I keep bringing up and they keep wanting me to spend are actually gained by those little quests you see at the bottom of the screen there. The Eye of the Necropolis is always asking you to do these trivial tasks. Typically, whenever you do complete one, he kinda... Oh, jeez. He usually kinda gives you some gruff about it and how long it took you to accomplish it, or how he doesn't really care that you accomplished it. It was meaningless. Blasting powder and make our own bombs. If I had any. I think my favorite recipes, to be perfectly honest with you, are whenever you pick up the iron rations, you can get like iron food. It usually increases your defense for a little bit and fully restores your HP. And obviously the tiers of the food give you a different amount of HP that you restore. See, we actually have some enemies not getting along over here, but typically they tend to ignore each other once they notice you. Oh no. Oh no. I don't know why, but looking at these little dogs, hyenas maybe, striped hyenas. Kinda wanna call them tiger dials. Oh, he made me sick, and then that's gonna explode. I'm too busy vomiting. Likely from eating that rotten meat earlier, and then these nauseous little things spraying us with whatever they're infected with. Which, looking at their clothes, they look like they probably were descendants of the people that built the Necropolis like we are now. And they, I guess, got lost down here and infected with the fungal spores of the swamp. I think that's one of the other interesting things too is thank you. Where did you come from? these guys, if you let them touch you, will steal stuff, and they will run off and despawn. They, like, teleport, and then you're out loot. See? They're frustrating. Ideally, you want to kill them before they can even hit you to try and steal something. Thankfully, it was a scroll. Scrolls kind of do the random effects. You never really know what you're getting out of that, so it's not really a big deal. It's probably our tier 4 scroll, but I think these big guys with the shells, they like to teleport. They're typically a little frustrating. Oh man, we are really getting swarmed. Oh well, I promised you guys that we were probably going to die, since I'm really out of practice. I'm not gonna say I was ever amazing at the game, but you know, I've escaped the Necropolis. Toot my horn there. Wasn't easy. Took me quite a few tries, since you really want to get the points to get better tomes to make it easier on yourself to actually get out of here. I said a bit early on, I bought the cheap vampirism tome, since surviving's really the hard part. You typically get mobbed like this, and the enemies really only get stronger. What is this? Oh, they are the same. They look different, but I guess I'm looking at like the corpses on top of each other and that kind of thing. Oh, we got a bomb. I mean, we'll try that out for funsies. We don't even know what kind of bomb it is. That's the other fun thing, is if you don't have the recipe for the potions and you pick them up, you might not know what effect it actually has, so drinking it's kind of a gamble. Sometimes it's fun, you know, sometimes it's a potion of invisibility that you wish you'd held on to so you could sneak past a really large... How do you block? That's charge. It's just gonna deplete my stamina more. Last thing we really want right now. Thank you! I love vomiting. I'm glad everyone gets to see the vomiting mechanic. Sometimes that happens from drinking the potions, too. I think they like to use that every chance they get, to be perfectly honest with you. Happens from eating too much of the rotten meat, or just over time from having eaten rotten meat. It happens with these guys. Happens with potions. We're probably gonna lose a ration here. I wish I could remember how to block. I think one of the annoying things was blocking doesn't stop them from swiping. Oh, swiper, no swiping! And there goes a ration, which we kind of really wanted. Oh, what? What? My sword strikes went right through him. Okay, you saw that. I hit him twice. Gonna bomb it again. Oh, you'd think I'd remember to dodge out of the way after I beat them. But like I said, it's been a while. Wow. Wow. Okay, we better craft some meats. We have a surprising amount of ingredients, so there's really no reason not to go ahead and max out our inventory with the rations right now. Yeah, that was a loot pyramid we failed to capitalize on, since I'm far too busy and more interested in crafting meat. See, they don't have that little blue topper part. They're not just a little motion bomb that's trying to take us out. Hold on. Okay. I feel like I'm doing that, and often I'm not blocking. I do the shield slam, but I'm probably accidentally hitting yeah, accidentally, air quotes, hitting R2. L2. I don't know my left from my right, guys. Still working on that one. Been watching that, children's video. Meatwad was always watching on Aqua Teen, trying to figure out which of my hands is which. After that, I'm gonna try and learn how to tie my shoes. Oh boy, sharks! Sharkies. Which, coincidentally, I think it might be Shark Week? It might be Shark Week. I'm not super into that like a lot of people are. You people with your Sharknadoes and all of that. Can't you watch a real B movie like The Room Something that's actually bad and not trying to do it on purpose for your money. Don't let me tell you what to watch. I have pretty bad taste myself. Oh, here we go. I'm probably gonna die, which is a shame because these guys aren't actually tough. It's really nice if you get one of the purple ones because they'll spin around like that. They do like the hammer swing and they'll do that to each other, which usually works out great. I don't remember that weird fungus spewer. Jeez, see, this is when you wish you had the potion, get that full HP restore, you know? That's okay, if I die, I can actually quickly show you what the, oh boy. Oh, I can show you what the character customization is like at the beginning. Because you get to choose between two classes, and I do much prefer that bulkier one, since more HP, a little slower, but I think it has a higher defense overall. Look, we got a free token for all the gems I picked up. That's always great, right? Toss you all the way back. So yeah, new game. You got your choice of the Brute and the Blackguard, this is the original guy that they were showcasing. The Brute was actually DLC for you guys on Steam and PC and all that, but they bundled that into the PlayStation 4 version. And obviously your title, or son or daughter, is based off of the color you're wearing. It's not too terribly important, and you like them or you don't. I'm not too overall impressed. They're not meaningful in any shape, way, or form, realistically. Most of them aren't even really mentioned in the I guess, fluff lore that exists inside the game. That sexy walk. Look at them legs. Look at them legs. Total 50s pinup model right there, you know? I don't know, I think I really like the arrow look. Airwoo. Airwoo. I don't know. See, glass also looks really good. I'm a big fan of like green and purple. It's such a sexy combo. We'll play a chick. Once it's your gender really doesn't matter overall. It's just the classes. But I've never managed to beat the game as a Blackguard here. Only managed to tank my way through, and these guys are a little quicker. They're not as slow, and they have more of a bloodborne dodge rather than a fat roll. This is a little beginning where we really should have started, since it would have helped if I had remembered all of these. Wait, you can... I've actually never sprinted prior to reading that and trying it out. I feel really silly now. But you don't need it to beat the game. If anything, that's what I've proven in escaping the Necropolis without ever knowing that. The beginning's, pretty standard. You get to meet this guy, the brazen head. Yes. Hello. But just leave the Necropolis, please. The little shop vendor guy here has always got random stuff at every location. Like, he doesn't always have this hammer here at the beginning. Doesn't always have the potion. Typically almost always has the food. This is our little starting hub every time you start a new game. Let's see, what are we wearing? I don't know if I know. It wasn't the cookbook. See, this one will let us pick up any potion and we'd already know what it is. That lets us use block longer. Not a terrible idea, especially on the brute class, See, this is one of the first books I saved up for, because I think it's only 4 or 6 tokens, something silly like that, and you just naturally regenerate HP over time, so you could basically get your butt kicked, find a safe place to hide, because the enemies aren't very good at jumping and that kind of thing. It's very easy to cheese them, and you could just sit back and heal, and if you get lucky enough to pick up one of the crossbow weapons, well then, you're set for life if you can just find a little rock to sit on top of where they can't hit you. Can't tell you how many times I've done that and just thrown bombs or used the crossbow and cheesed my way through a room. And that's always a decent one. This is probably the one I had equipped. You know, we're playing the more Bloodborne character anyway, we might as well steal one of the Bloodborne mechanics. Gotta attack to heal. Which I thoroughly enjoyed. I can't tell you how much I truly love Bloodborne. Way better than Dark Souls. Just my opinion, though. Just my opinion. Oh boy, skeletons! You can't have a creepy game like this without skeletons. I don't know. Try and do good this one, but after this death, I think we're just gonna call it. I just wanted to preview this since it was requested to check this one out. And I already owned it, and I did thoroughly enjoy this for a good bit. But I don't. Despite the random generation, not a lot of replayability in it because it's just so repetitive, and it's fun for a while when you're first exploring and you wanna see what's actually at the ends, and you wanna see the ending, which spoilers without spoiling it, it's very much like No Man's Sky. You will be very, very upset that you went through all of that effort to see what you get. Maybe telling you that ruins it, but I will leave it to your imagination and what exactly you get. Because you do have to earn that. Oh, jeez, look at all this. But yeah, ideally, that's what they wanted you to do anyway, was to sit here and trial and error, because you really gotta work hard to earn the tokens to get the decent tomes, waste them on the upgrade chest on your way down. Cause they usually have some of the best loot in there, like the tier 4 armors and that kind of stuff, and as said, the armor's rare, but it makes such a large impact, because I've actually managed to get lucky and pick up like tier 2 or 3 armor, and it actually changes the character model, so that's also a cool feature, but it makes a really big, noticeable impact on... Oh, jeez, I'm dodging into them. Oh, man. Yeah, it's a little clunky. It's not as clunky playing the Blackguard, since they're a lot quicker. But at the same time, you notice the HP bar is smaller, even without... Oh, missed out on the little treasure diamond. I don't know what to call them. I don't think they ever give you a bestiary, unfortunately. You know, you don't ever really know what to call the inhabitants of the Necropolis for the most part. I think on the website they might tell you what a lot of these are. For the most part, it's all kind of left to your imagination, and the fluff lore is always kind of mad gibberish. They usually tell you things like, behind the tapestries there were certain monsters and this guy defeated it, and from the eyes of it they crafted a certain part of the necropolis, and then they tore down another tapestry, and behind it was another door, and it led to an even bigger monster controlled by a warlock, and they tore the warlock asunder and used his torn robe to make some kind of sky bridge. At some point they're telling you about some weird, obscure curse words in this game, and I think they mentioned a couple of incantations, and like, oops, I shouldn't have said that, I've now erased a certain part of the Necropolis. Very, very rarely, you'll come across these color-coded crystals in these hidden rooms, because yes, just like Dark Souls, we love our hidden rooms. They'll unlock certain maps for the Necropolis. Certain environments are actually unlocked by interacting with hidden crystals that are just throughout the map and level. Every once in a while you find these little, you know, scrawlings on the wall. They're not usually too terribly interesting. They usually also have just fluff lore. It's all very pretty and interesting to look at, and it makes you crave more, but you will be disappointed to find out that there is not more. Should have tried to block. And you see that R1 attack I did after he smacked me was from before he smacked me. That's just the level of delay that sometimes occurs, and basically you see there's a little, I think it's a spike trap. Yeah. There's also little traps like that. There's no like pitfalls, you know, where like they just appear under you and you fall to your death and just instant game over, but they have little floor traps. I think at a certain point they have like crossbow traps. I think there's a flamethrower trap. I think they have those very bizarre, only in like D&D and video game, like spinning wheel traps, you know, the rotating blade that pops up out of the floor. Never made a whole lot of sense to me, because why would anyone make something like that and pretend it's a realistic trap? But digress. It exists. There we go. Wanted to see what my little things were. I was too busy talking to you guys to even check out what I'm supposed to do. Plunder treasure chests. I wish. You don't usually find a lot of treasure. Gather potions, so I'm supposed to pick them up. And I'm not sure what a noggle is. I think that might be the shark guys? Oh, you're kidding! We walked right back. We did a big square. I feel so silly. Okay, well, we know we've been there. That's the other unfortunate. There's usually two paths in a level to get down to the floor. I've actually gotten so lost before because the levels get bigger as you go deeper down that I've found an elevator and then it goes up. And in my confusion, because my first time trying to escape the Necropolis, I thought maybe there's only one certain path that you can take to get out. But I don't believe that to be true. That I actually went up a flight, and then, you know, I went through, like, the whole other side, because, you know, when you start out, I should have showed off, there's two different doors, there's one on the left and the right. This one seriously seems to be a dead end, though. But I got so lost that I ended up going up the elevator, like, you know, from floor 5 to 4, and then finding another elevator, and it took me up to 3, and I was like, oh my god, are we gonna go up and out of the Necropolis? Or, you know, did maybe I take the wrong path, and now I have to go all the way up until I find the right elevator down? And then eventually I realized that, I'd actually crossed over to, okay, here we go. That's kind of what I'm talking about with, like, the unlocked parts of the Necropolis, but they're a different color than this. These just affect, like, these drawbridges and stuff. There's some shark guys. I'm pretty sure these are noggles. Will this lower it? It does. There's, some loot if we can... Really? Really? I'm gonna fall to death. I'm gonna fall to death. Sometimes if you're lucky, actually, when you're free-falling like that, you can land on parts of the map that you may or may not have been allowed to land on. Yeah, I don't think we're going to find anything here, but I have fallen off the map and then coincidentally landed on a platform like what we see over there with the crystal, or a different part of the environment, and then found a pipe with a hole in it that let me sneak back into the level, and it just put me in a different part of the dungeon. Like, you see like the floating land masses over there and stuff. Sometimes you can fall and clip onto them, like way down there. I don't even know if there'd be any other way. Dad! But yeah, that platform earlier down there, I don't think there'd be a normal way to get down there. I think you would just have to free fall and crash onto it. But yeah, that's Necropolis. That's the whole idea of it, is trial and error, dying, grinding out these tokens, unlocking the codexes, and if you can actually manage to survive long enough through about, I think, 6 or 7 levels, you get to go all the way to the depths. And there is indeed a way to escape. But once again, I was incredibly disappointed with it, and it really killed my enjoyment for the game. Didn't really make me want to continue grinding out for, like, you know, 100% of the trophies, that kind of thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But it's a, you know, first couple runs and actually trying to get through, quite a challenge. Very enjoyable to try and do yourself. Highly recommend it. Probably be a lot more fun multiplayer. I've never tried it multiplayer. That'd probably make it kind of dumb easy, the way multiplayer in Dark Souls is, you know, and there's 2 or 3 of you just playing ping pong with the boss, smacking it from behind continuously as it switches aggro. Kinda dulls the sense of achievement, kinda dulls the sense of accomplishment. Doesn't really feel like you yourself are very skilled. Yeah, it's Necropolis. Check it out if you like.